Hello, world! Welcome to the show. Today we have a big show packed as usual with tons of demo, and today the topic is teams. So today with me as a co-host, I have Caruana, and the challenge today is to say your name correctly. Your name is easy. It's my tongue, my French tongue that is struggling a bit.
I love your accent, Frank. I think it's wonderful. Hello, everyone. I'm Caruana. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Frank, thank you for asking me to join and co-host this awesome segment of Hello World today.
So today the topic is teams. So I know you brought many different people, experts. So do you want to introduce them?
I would love to. We have some wonderful people that'll be here with us today. First off, we have Koji. Koji, want to tell folks, what are you going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about why developers should care because I'm building a store about apps and devices inside of Teams.
Ooh, that sounds really exciting. Thank you, Koji. And next we have Leanne. Leanne is going to share some more important fun stuff with us. Leanne, welcome.
Hi, I'm going to talk about how to make your Teams apps more engaging.
Oh, that's not interesting.
That's an important topic. We really wanted that. We know apps are really important to getting the value out of Teams. So I'm glad you're here to talk about that. Frank, who do we have next?
You got me on spot.
We have.
I think it's me.
That's a test. We have live.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey, I'm excited to be here today to talk about assignments and grades, which have been teaching, and specifically how we add new applications to assignments can be a good feature for our teachers and students around the world.
Oh, so important. We love our teachers and students around the world. We're so happy that we get to support them with Microsoft Teams. That's fantastic. And we also have an awesome MVP. If you don't know what an MVP is, it's a most valuable professional with Microsoft. Lee, come and join us on screen, Lee.
Hi. So today I'm going to talk about adaptive cards and how you can use them in Microsoft Teams.
I love adaptive cards. So one of my favorite things is portable little bits of information that you can make interactive. So I'm really excited for your segment. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Frank?
Wonderful. So all along, those person will come and we'll have a demo where they share like what they just say. And if you have any question, there's the chat down below on the side. Whatever you're watching this episode, there's a chat. Ask your question, leave a comment, and they are there waiting for you to answer those questions. And also, we have a special one today, and that's the teams who's asking you a question. So what's the question of the day today?
Oh, the question of the day is important. We want to know, how do you stay up to date on what's next for Microsoft Teams? Do you read the Message Center posts? Do you use the planner integration for those Message Center posts inside of Teams? Do you read our Teams blog, or do you get your content someplace else? Tell us. Go ahead and scan that with your cell. Use the AKA link, whichever you want, or just tell us in chat. But give us an answer and let us know how you stay up to date on Microsoft Teams. We're changing so much, Frank. It's kind of a hard thing to do. So we really want to know, how are people staying up to date on all the new features that we're constantly launching?
Yeah, indeed. And that's wonderful. And the question is always there. So if you're watching a replay, you could still keep it there. I will make sure to give back those answers. And that, you know what, brings us to our first segment. So I think it was Koji was the first one. Am I right?
You are, Frank. Frank, did you want to give any information to the new viewers who might be out there?
Yeah, well, if they want to chat, there's the chat over there, over here. We'll have a link where all the description, all the link. So we call that the show notes. So it should pop somewhere down below. Show notes is there. There it is. Jason at production is in fire. Like
so fancy. You're so fancy.
We have that. Well, yeah. So maybe Koji, you want to introduce quickly. What do you do?
I am on point for Teams Admin Center. I focus a lot on the IT admin. The reason that we focus on IT admins is their job is very tough. Their job is to make sure that the environment, the workplace continues to stay safe for the users, and also making sure that the users are productive. And these things are at tension sometimes. So how do we make sure that the IT admin is helping the user be successful, and also make it easy so that you say, I want to actually have an image app, or I want to have a mind mapping application. I want to get a headset that is actually providing quality sound. How do we make it easy for this to be reach the user? That's the thing that I focus on.
Wonderful. And we met a few days ago to record a demo. So you know what? Let's watch it right now, and we'll get back to it. Get back to you for more live Q&A after.
Sounds awesome.
So Koji, can you explain why developers should care about the admin center?
Got it. That's a question that we commonly hear from customers because it's not clear. So Microsoft Teams is the digital platform for work and learning where collaboration is at the core. Teams Admin Center is where IT admins can manage how users collaborate in teams. And in large organizations that use Teams for collaboration, we see the IT admin playing a key role. They get to decide what capability get used by whom in the organization. And if you do not actually work with them, your product is not going to get adopted. The IT admin today is being asked to raise security and compliance of the workspace while making teams do more for the organization through the power of Teams apps. This is where the opportunity is for developers. And with Teams apps, users can easily work with others, staying the flow of work without needing to jump around in different apps and data. That's why developers should care.
Makes sense. Also, and I understand why you would like to learn how to dance together and stuff like that, but I'm very visual. I need to see something, and I know you have something to show us. So let's continue.
Got it. First, then, let me talk to the user's side of the world. So this is what a user sees in the Teams App Store. And then there are many types of applications here. The row that says built for your org, those are called custom applications because they were built specifically by the company for their employees. Examples are employee polls or line of business applications for customer leads. But if we, for example, click on the productivity category, we can see that there's a lot of Microsoft provided applications like Forms, Planner, Approvals, but also third-party applications like Poly, Trello, Miro, Asana, and more. These third-party apps can gain the confidence of IT admins by going through the Microsoft 365 App Compliance Program. For example, if we take a look at Asana, we can see that this is publisher attested for security, data handling, and compliance attributes. Another example in the compliance program is Priority Matrix. This Priority Matrix is Microsoft certified, which means that it's been audited against a set of leading industry standards. This gains the trust of IT admins. Another step that developers can do to gain the confidence of IT admins is leveraging Microsoft 365 as a security and compliance platform. For example, if the developer were to choose Adaptive Cards, which is an open UI card framework in bots and messages, the app data, what gets created by the app is automatically protected by Microsoft 365 e-discovery, audit, legal hold, retention, delete, and safe link capabilities. Let's now flip over to the IT admin's view. If it's okay.
I was about to ask, where the admin center in that story?
Yes. This is the Teams Admin Center. It's the one-stop shop managing a broad set of resources in a Teams environment. There's Teams and channels, users, Teams devices, and Teams apps. And today we're going to focus on apps. So if I was the IT admin of this tenant, what I would do first is make sure that the right apps are visible to the right users. And then this is where I will continue to use the three categories of applications that we talked about earlier. Custom applications are built by developers, and then they're submitted to the admin for use in the tenant. We can see that there's two apps that are pending approval. So the IT admin can find them and then make sure that they make sense for the tenant and they meet the standards, and then they can publish it for use by the users. And then for applications that actually have large number of choice, for example, in the communication category, typically, the IT admin has a choice of which app to be used in this category. And then they might go in and select other applications which might be competitive or redundant in nature and remove them from the user so that they don't get confused.
Excellent. Yeah. Too many choices. It's not always good.
Yes. And then what we also see a lot of customers doing, and the perfect example is now Virtual Agent. Customers actually want the third-party application, but they want it to be branded for their company. So what they would go in and do is customize this to look like Contoso Help Desk. and change the logo and make it look like it's their custom application, even though the underlying infrastructure and what's powering is the third-party application. And then the last set of customization that an IT admin does today is for the applications that support configuration. And I'd like to point to an example, which is Praise. Praise is an application that is used by users to send badges to each other, sending kudos. And then the kudos, the images, the message, they're always different for the company or the customer. And then they get to customize it by uploading their own set of kudos and then perhaps their own set of visuals. This is not just about Praise, but it's supported across applications. And this is how the App Store gets to be the customer's App Store. And then lastly, there's the look and feel. An App Store that looks like Microsoft with the Microsoft color is not that appealing, and it doesn't drive a lot of engagement. By letting the customer upload their logos or changing the images or the background to look like their corporate color, it allows the customers to actually get a lot of engagement from the user because it comes across as now their store. There's also more that the IT admin can do. We just talked about getting the store open. So beyond getting the store open, the IT admin can also promote applications. So let's imagine that the IT admin is trying to promote Adobe Sign, the application, to the sales and marketing department staff, because it's great for contract management. What they can do is create a policy, and within the policy, pre-install the application to users who have this policy assigned, and also pin Adobe Sign on the left side of the Teams experience in the app bar so that it's immediately reachable. That's where the promotion function of the IT admin comes in, and we've seen customers drive a lot of engagement by doing this. And then the last piece that the IT admin needs to do is monitor what apps get used by who. And then here, this is the app usage report. This is where the IT admin gets to see how many users or how many teams are using which app, and they get to monitor this. And if it's not going the way that they had anticipated, they can actually investigate or they can engage with users. That's where the IT admin becomes an adoption leader for apps.
That's very interesting. Well, thank you. Now I hope our viewers understand better why they should care. And you know what? Let's go read their questions. That was wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Koji. You know, I always like to see you do a demo like that. That was awesome.
Awesome.
Really, I love that. And people were very happy in the chat saying like they like how you can customize everything. I had one question that is not technical, but I saw that you could add your own images. Could they be animated GIF or GIF? I don't want to get in trouble.
Yes, they can. And my demo tenant actually has one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, I have to update that. See, this is why it's so fun to do these shows, because you learn something that even I didn't know that every day. I'm wondering too, you know, there's so much more coming there in that. What do you see as the future of that App Store experience and of the Teams Admin Center?
Let's talk about apps first. So at Build, we actually launched the concept of collaborative applications. So what is the foundation of a Teams app? It's basically the capability to have multiple modalities in communication come together to actually support collaboration and also integrate across like workflows so that different people can work, different roles can work together, and it's streamlined. That's the power of Teams apps. And then the role of Teams Admin Center is to make sure that that can actually span across everything inside of Microsoft. And Microsoft 365 means SharePoint, Exchange, Dynamics 365, Yammer, and all these things come together. And also, for example, for developers, they would want to work with like Azure DevOps. So that's going to come together. And one of the challenges that we see customers feeling is that there's an app, I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. So we need to bring more signals, more visibility to the customer saying, this is safe for you to use, this is recommended for you to use. So there's a lot of like signals that Microsoft can offer from an editorial point of view. We also have a lot of algorithms and rankers that can actually bring these to you. So what we want to do is give the admin the necessary visibility to enable these. And then we haven't done too much with devices yet besides doing device management in Teams Admin Center, but that's actually very important. Like you see me have a headset, we're all talking to a laptop, at home probably. So these things are part of the hybrid workplace, about the modern Teams experience. So we want to do the same exactly for devices.
Yes, absolutely. And I heard you making an awful lot of work for me there with more adoption documents and like all the information that people need about apps. You know, the customers definitely ask for that. And I know there's another question out there too that I wanted to bring. How do you see the future of Teams apps and Office add-ins?
Got it. I think the position that we have is that Microsoft 365 is the product for the customer. So whether it's Outlook, Word, or Excel, or PowerPoint, or Teams, it's just your preferred place where you want to work. So for example, I used to be a mechanical engineer. I lived inside of AutoCAD. So that's where I prefer to work. Collaboration should come to me, as opposed to I have to go to collaboration. So that's where I think the add-in concept and the Teams app concepts at the end of the day is going to converge in the future. I can't tell when, but because from a developer's point of view, you just want to target the customer. I serve the customer, get to meet them where they are. And if we need to get to where the customer is working, that means that a lot of this add-in concept and Teams apps need to become the same thing.
I'm so glad that you shared all that. We're coming to the end of this particular segment, but where can people learn more, Koji?
There's always docs.microsoft.com. There's a lot of the websites that Microsoft has for customer success too. And then you just need to type Teams Admin Center, and you'll get a host of resources. Also, there's going to be some Learn modules that are offered for this portion in the meeting notes or the session notes.
Wonderful. Well, put all the notes, all the link that Koji has for us. It's all in the show notes. So after the show, feel free to go there and read more. But now it's time for the next guest. So
it is. I'm so excited. We're going to bring Leanne back, and we're going to talk about making apps more engaging. Now that you know how to find them and how to manage them, what about making them engaging that people really want to use them, Leanne? I know you're going to tell us more about that.
Yes, I'm excited to share that. And I work with partners every day to build awesome apps, both on education and wellness.
Wonderful. So we met a few days ago and we record this presentation. So let's look at this discussion. So Leanne, so many people are using Teams these days, but how can we make our Teams app more engaging?
Yeah, that's a great question, Frank. There's so many ways to make your Teams apps more engaging, but working with so many different partners on Teams, I wanted to share the 3 best practices here with you today. And we'll be covering accessibility with Immersive Reader, bots with visual reminders, and meetings shared to stage. And this can be used for any Teams apps, enterprise or education, but the examples I'll be sharing are education specific. And then stay tuned at the end for announcement for a new education feature. So Frank, I don't know about you, but sometimes going to work can be dreadful and anxiety provoking because of the challenges with the pandemic. It's still around. And more than ever, it's affecting teachers and students because some are going back to school, some are staying home, and some are doing a bit of both. And it's causing problems in concentration. It's causing problems with physical and mental health, and people just don't feel as connected. So we want our partners to help solve this problem in education. And here is a great example with Breakthru. So Maria, director of schools in Greece, she talks about this app on Teams that brings so much delight to the classroom. It's an app that reminds you to take breaks and to move. And children just love it because they have choice. They can pick these different colors like green and blue and yellow, and each color represents a different type of exercise and a different feeling. And it can be used both in and out of the classroom. And there is these 3 areas that our Microsoft education team have come up with in a lot of research they've done. This is what educators are asking for. So they are looking for hybrid and blended teaching. And that just means building an app that supports both in and out of the classroom or in and out of work. And meeting apps help make these scenarios just more engaging. And I'll be sharing an example of that pretty soon. And then, like we just discussed, wellness, social emotional learning, and connection. One way to do it is to create a custom together mode scene. So you can see this picture in the middle here. You can actually have up to 50 people just sitting in a scene. So, you know, when we started talking, Frank, you and I, we were like next to each other. It makes us feel together and it uplifts the mood, right? Versus just, oh, okay, I'm sitting by myself in the dark here and trying to connect with people. And Breakthru has built this beautiful scene here. And then with the last piece, everybody wants students to be more successful, get those straight A's, right? And just be engaged and just slam dunk it. But what if COVID caused a learning gap for many students? How do we fill that gap with technology? So there's many ways to do it. We'll go into bots and great bots best practices to remind people to take action, and then gamified features, like how do you motivate students to just want to stretch themselves naturally. And here's an example of Wakelet adopting immersive reader.
Here are some facts about the Sydney Opera House in Australia.
So it's really cool, right? So Wakelet is, you saw, it's like very visual app, but they are bringing in the Microsoft Immersive Reader, so it can read out loud, like what is on the page, and you can customize that. You can change the voice, male or female, fast or slow, things like that. There's so many other features with Immersive Reader, and there's 35 million monthly active users using this today across many different Microsoft products, including Microsoft Teams. And this can be used for enterprise and education. And yeah, Wakelet on its own, it's a really great product, but combining Immersive Reader, it just makes that so much more enriching on Teams. And this example here with Breakthru is bots. So this is just one way they keep users coming back again and again. In this example, the bot is feeding some very visual cards to the user and giving the user choice to decide what kind of reminders they want to set up, how often, and you know, what kind of breaks they want to take, and a report at the end just showing them, oh, this is how much progress you made. So it's a very creative way. We call these adaptive cards here, and you can see as you're doing more exercise, the circle here starts to fill up. And then this example is a meetings example created by Whiteboard.chat. It's called Share to Stage. So this feature came out very recently, and it is very popular because it allows people in a meeting to interact with a document at the same time together. And Whiteboard.chat has done like this amazing job of showing, hey, like this is one whiteboard, we can interact at the same time, or the teacher can have a bird's eye view and see all the whiteboard that each student is doing and how they're progressing, and then decide to like zoom in at the whatever one they want to zoom in. And so there is a new EDU feature coming, and it will be a surprise. So can you guess what it is?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure we'll learn kind of now.
It's school specific, and teachers and students use it every day. Do you remember the last time you were a student, Frank, and what you did almost every day?
I don't know. It's so long ago.
Yeah, so ready for the reveal?
Yes, let's drum roll.
So if you guess apps and assignments, you are correct. And my favorite colleague, Life, will be showing you how to build this, but this is just all the wonderful partners that are going to be launching apps and assignments this year, and many more to come. So if you're really excited to start building your Teams apps today, the instructions are in the show notes. You'll set up your publisher account, and then you join the developer program, and then you will sign up for a development tenant. If you want a specific one for education, you have to select that for education. You'll see the instructions there, and we've provided dev documentation, not just generalized dev documentation, but all the capabilities I covered today as well. So yeah, I hope this has inspired you to create something engaging and fun in the classroom or at work.
I didn't realize I had that face when you asked me the question. You know why? Because I was struggling. I went in school and it was French. I was trying to translate. Oh, how do you say this in English? And I was like, I don't know.
The only thing I could think of was recess.
That was super. And I have one question for you, Leanne, is what should developer should avoid? Like we always talk about do this, but what they should avoid when they are building Teams apps.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a common mistake when developers they're so excited to build a new app is they just want to port their existing product into a new platform. And so they don't innovate. And if you take shortcuts, like you just iframe your HTML, it's a very bad user experience. So our policy team, there's like a policy team for every store in the world. They will not even approve that app. So you'll spend all this time building it and it won't even get approved. So that's one of the things to watch out for. And another thing to think about, to avoid actually, is Teams is a collaborative platform, right? So it's about users working together, learning together. And if you have an app, for example, that's a mobile app today that is very individual focused and it's not Teams focused, you can turn that into now a collaborative app. So take the example with Breakthru. It's very individual, right? You take breaks. It reminds you to break and you stretch. That's very individual focused. But on Teams, you can take that and build in features where I can share this with Frank and say, hey, Frank, I think it's time you take a break. You've worked so hard. And then he can click the button and take a break. So, or I could bring that into a meeting situation where we can all take a break together.
That's cool. I know one of my colleagues is doing like exercise of stretching during his meeting and stuff like that. It's really interesting. That's great. Any question you see, Carolina, in the chat?
Oh, there's a bunch going on. I mean, people are so interested in what's happening here. One of the questions is, can we control users' access? You know, such as a particular user only having access to certain features or what have you. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. So absolutely, especially in the education scenario, you have teacher roles and student roles. So you can dictate what a student can do and what a teacher can do and apply that to in the enterprise space.
Right, exactly. And the specific question was about remote control. Remote control is not really a functional part of Teams, but as add-on apps will give that sort of capability where you can take control of another user's computer. But because it's an app, again, it falls in that scenario of being able to just manage who actually has access to that. So it's fantastic stuff. I wanted to ask you, Leanne, how do you, I know I talk to a lot of people who are concerned about, well, I'm not sure that my idea is really worthy of an app. What do you tell people who are new, who may have never developed, an app like this before, and they're starting to dabble in it?
So I actually have worked with partners who are new to Teams and they're startups. They're not big, huge companies. And you would be surprised that you can take the most simple apps tend to go more viral versus very complicated apps. So I would say anybody can do this. You just have to have something new to offer. Like look at what your competitors are doing and bring in something new, and it can be very simple.
That's great feedback. Thank you for all of that. Such interesting stuff. I'm loving this, Frank. I'm getting an education while I'm sitting here.
It's lovely. Thank you. And now it's time for our next segment. So let's bring Life with us.
Hey.
Name properly this time. Sorry, I introduced you earlier with the wrong name.
That's okay. More education for you guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. Learning every second.
Yes, perfect.
So do you want to explain what's your role? What's your day-to-day? What you are working on?
day-to-day, I actually work with teachers and students in Teams EDU, right? So we have a functionality in Teams EDU called Assignments and Grades, which really helps teachers and students around the world, from kindergarten all the way up to kind of university students, to use and kind of learn and get educated and track their progress in their everyday stuff. So that's kind of what I work with. So I love working with teachers. They're fantastic, passionate people, and students even more, right? So it's fun to see that impact you're doing for those students today.
Wonderful. And you also had the very great demo. So let's watch it right now, and we'll get back for a Q&A just after.
Thank you.
Life, what's the difference between Teams and Teams for Education?
That's a great question, Frank. So Teams for Education is a special version of Teams, which is basically tailored for educators. Teams for Education, of course. And it really allows us to do kind of this collaborative classroom, building on the Teams platform, but also have the ability for teachers to focus the educators in their environment. So you see in this view right here, what normal teams will be all teams, but right now be a class team that actually have all the functionality for the student as well. And in addition, we add additional applications in Teams Education for like a class notebook or assignments and grades and so forth. Basically, it's a very much specialized environment for educators. And actually, a lot of features right now that's in Teams right now come from education. Typical example will be the breakout room we just launched in Teams. So it will be like a very much needed functionality in Teams for Education. One of the features we have in education is the assignment feature. So assignment is kind of the core of some of the workflow that the students do, right? As a teacher, I will assign a work to the students, distribute it, and the student will work on those things and grade it afterwards. It's kind of a key functionality that we're looking for in an assignment. So let me just show that first before that will help us understand more what the functionality for apps and assignment is as well offers. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So let me just go to my Teams right here. Actually, this team. So I'm now logged as a teacher, the teacher right here. And as you see in Teams right now, I can see my different classes that I have. So one of the classes I do is Language Arts. And Language Arts now has kind of the focus for students. So students focus only on LA. And of course, now with different applications like Class Notebook and Grades and so forward. So in this case, as a teacher, I'm going to create now a new assignment for my class to talk about outsiders, a novel that people use often here in the US. So let's go to Assignment. I'm going to create my new assignment. And we'll call this study guide.
Not Hello World?
Right. But, you know, that's how we do it right there. I'd say they're spelling better. So I can add instruction for this to the students. And I can add now documentation as well. So in this case, I'm going to add a Word document, which is stored on my OneDrive side. So I'm going to my teacher, and my LA content. I already have a study guide for my student teacher. And now I can actually choose to distribute this to all the students. So using this right now, I actually then choose to make this their own copy for each student. So what that means is that when I distribute this to the students, every single student will get an own copy to edit as well. So it's kind of new functionality for us. Assign those things, and then that's what you do. That's kind of how assignment works today. And if I go in my student experience right now, I will get an alert about new assignment from my teacher, hopefully today. And then you see right there, and I can now go into my study guide for it, view assignment, and now I can see the Word document that the student do and work on that directly into Teams. So that's kind of the way we're thinking about doing the work. And once I'm done, I can now just submit this into my teacher as well, celebrate that. So that's the functionality in assignments today. Now, we support already today the functionality around the Word, OneNote Class Notebook, Excel, Word and PowerPoint, those things. But the cool thing for us is we want to have more interactive application, just like Leanne talked before. And now become the apps and assignment functionality. So right now, we are launching this application, this functionality in the next month. For our partners. This is awesome to see. With a lot of partners already working on this functionality we're launching, which is cool to see as well. So let's just do a quick demo how it works in our world. So let's go into my teacher again. And I'm going to create an app. So let's say I want to have a application that talk more about presentation skills or run on sentences. So let's do this Nearpod stuff here. This is an application that are working for us already. And our application right now will list all the tab applications. So tab application is a tab application in Teams. We work on tabs, channels, and share a stage. And now I can use my assignment as well. So an example here is Nearpod. I'm logging into Nearpod as my user, and I'll have all the lessons that are already created in Nearpod. And I have already created a lesson for myself, so I can chase my run-on sentences thing, make a student space, add it to my assignment, and now I can assign that application to the student to use as well. So if I want to use this assignment as a teacher right now, I click on this, this view, open up the Nearpod application within assignment context, and log in. Okay, I have a lesson. And now this is a video lesson that had additional kind of functionality for doing quizzes and so forth, basically, because it's all kind of rich content that we have these applications doing. So all those applications are now available to have in the assignment in the workflow for the student as well. Cool. So if I go back to our thing right now, so we are just launching it right now, and as Leanne said, we have set up things to do for you if you want to start things. That's all linked in the show notes below. But in addition to the work that Leanne talked about around the MPN account and EDU partner sign up, we also add the requirements for doing this work, as well as a sample app to use for GitHub that you can download and try and build your own applications for assignment as well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so excited about seeing people doing those things. Again, we're launching this in, I say, end of this month for our people in education as well. So,
well, looking forward to it. But you know what we will do right now? It's going to the chat and see the question they have for us.
Awesome.
That was super cool.
That was great. That was great. I noticed there that you didn't let Frank distract you from the focus of your demo. You're such a professional. That was awesome. One thing that I know people ask quite a bit is, are assignments for all Teams users? Can every Teams user use assignments? Fine.
That's a great question. So right now, all assignments is used only for Teams education. So Teams EDU is a different SKU, Microsoft Speak, of course, for educators, and that's what it always working with. So it's only an education version of Teams. So, and Teams education has additional functionality as well that we are looking for. So.
Right. Well, you know, I think we're dedicated to empowering those teachers and students. So I'm happy for that. I know people are going to keep asking for it, and they should, because feedback matters at Microsoft, and especially at Microsoft Teams. Another question about that is, can you use existing tab apps for some of that new functionality that you were showing, or do we need to do something different? Like, what's your guidance there?
It's a great question again. So one thing we like to build in Teams, of course, build on additional functionality, right? So right now you can create a tab app in Teams, which you can use not only in tabs and channels and so forth, but also in this share to stage with additional updates in your manifest. And in this case, for assignments, use the same tab application as well. You can update the manifest to kind of support it in our assignment. There is additional functionality in each of these environments, of course. The share to stage meetings has more functionality, and for assignments we have additional kind of functionality as well. But you know, the foundation is your tab app, basically. So
right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering.
Sorry,
go ahead,
just same as before. Like, so Koji was talking about the admin center, right, where you control the applications available for all the users, and these applications are controlled the same way in the admin center as well. So it's kind of same functionality there.
Wonderful.
We really do have a lot of controls in that Teams admin center. I know people get concerned about what capabilities and features they're giving to what users, but there's definitely some best practice guidance out there as well on Docs or in Microsoft Teams if you want to learn more about that. Yeah. I'm wondering,
that's true in education, right? We want to have the students and teachers have a safe application to use across their environment. So.
Absolutely. What do you hope is going to happen now? So we're launching this new functionality that we've had lots of customers and partners ask for. But I know inside Teams, we always had this vision, this hope of how we're changing people's experience. What's your hope for this feature and how people use it?
Well, first of all, I want to see feedback from teachers and students too, obviously. My hope is the first going to get feedback in how people are using it inside education, and we can actually add more functionality around not only student using it, teaching using it, but also admins to see how how efficient these applications are to actually help students. So we have a functionality in Teams called Insights, which basically track how students are doing, and it gives a great insight for both teachers and admins to see, are people kind of on scale or off scale to their grade stuff as well. So we're looking at how we can add actually the efficiency of these applications for students as well. So it'll be cool to see.
Wonderful. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm sorry. I'm smiling on the time. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just reading the chat. While you did the demo, there was like someone presenting an ice cream cone, and I was like, "What's the flavor?" And I'm just having a lot of fun in the chat with like all the flavors suggested, unicorn and all those. So,
yeah, it's one example, maybe a small example, but one example is we have to make teams fit for everybody, right? So this is kindergarten kids as well as universities, right? And those kind of celebrations are important. You want to celebrate the kids doing their work, right? It's a key thing. So there are unicorns there as well, and lots, I believe. So
I like that. It was full of colors. Even with Leanne earlier in the demos, we were seeing a lot of colors and interactivity. Like it was not just like words and stuff like that. It was very alive kind of thing. I really like that. Even if it's a very funky or like interesting.
Well, that's really,
flavor.
you're bringing up an important point, Frank. Humans are visual creatures, and we actually, our brains will process colors and patterns much more quickly than the written word. And so I love bringing this into the collaboration experience because it actually reduces stress. It reduces the mental load that you have to process the information, and anything that we can do to help, especially students and teachers, reduce their stress level is an important thing. So I love bringing all that visual aspect in, and it helps me. Anytime someone can post a picture instead of write me a paragraph, I'm a happy girl.
That's so important
thing. We're also thinking about there's a big inclusion too, right? So some people are like colors, some people are depending on kind of less visualization too, right? So I think that's the cool thing about applications today. We can actually kind of customize those for all kind of students and teachers today. So.
And that's a wonderful segue for the next segment here, because it's about accessibility. And our guests will be presenting a lot of different things that we can do to help having a better Teams experience. So let's roll that video.
Hi, my name is Megan Lawrence, and I'm the Director of Accessibility and Intersectionality here at Microsoft. I am a white woman with dark hair, wearing black glasses, earrings, and a black shirt today. Now, we recognize the community is more important than ever. We all want to belong to something bigger than ourselves. That includes our friends and family community, and certainly our developer and work community. And we are using technology even more than ever to stay connected. If you had asked me last year, how often do you use Teams? I would have said all the time. And now I really mean all day, every day. That technology needs to be as diverse as we see people in the world today to ensure that we are building those communities and have the ability to communicate with one another. Now let's ground. 1 in 5 people have a disability today. And we know that people with disabilities are growing as a community. Some because of long-term COVID, and also because of the mental health community. And so it's even more important than ever to ensure that you're putting disability at the heart of the way that you design tools. So for example, I have fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition, and it means that I can't sit and type at a computer all day long. It affects my hands and wrists. And so something like speech to text or dictation becomes incredibly important for me to do my job. But now imagine that you've broken an arm, a hand, a wrist, a finger. All of us have had a temporary disability at some point in our lives. And now technology can easily be used while we heal. But I believe that disability and accessibility is at the heart of the way that we create modern tools. My husband quite literally believes that he can talk to anything as an interaction style. So when you're creating your next tool, think about how you are including multiple ways of interaction. And when we do that, we create technology that is literally the backbone on which organizations create a culture of digital inclusion. And that's important because we recognize that companies that hire people with disabilities make 28% higher revenue on average. So you're not just making the next cool tool, you really are creating a pathway for more societal inclusion and thinking about how diversity and disability diversity enhances every single organization. All right, but let's talk a little bit about tech. So the first thing that I go by is nothing about us without us. We want to ensure that the disability community has a seat at the table and is providing you the feedback that you need to make great technology. Here at Microsoft, we've developed the Accessibility User Research Collective, which is a partnership with the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia. We have well over 1,000 people now that provide us feedback on research, design, engineering, testing of tools to make sure that what we create is not just accessible, but it's usable, it's delightful. So think about the way that you're bringing the disability community into the way that you build your products and services. Now, if you're thinking, well, how accessible are my products? We have the Accessibility Insights tool, which is an automated checking tool that will allow you to get a read on your website, your Windows application, and Android application. Now, the important thing here is making that part of your developmental life cycle. Make sure that you think about accessibility early and often and get feedback from the disability community throughout the process. Now, there's two things that I want you to take away from this presentation. One is that you are never alone. We are always here to support you. So we have the Disability Answer Desk, which provides free IT support for people with disabilities, as well as anybody that supports us. And we have the Enterprise Disability Answer Desk, and we can answer questions about Microsoft accessibility as it relates to any organization. And now I've only gotten just a very few minutes to touch on the important topic of accessibility and disability inclusion. So here is my challenge for you. Lean in, learn more, have that growth mindset. We've got the Accessibility Fundamentals course available for you today to really get your feet wet and get a great background. With that, thank you so much for listening and being with us today.
Wonderful. So many little details that we can add to make our apps and our experience better, right?
That was so fantastic. Nothing about us without us. That is going to go on a sticky on my desk. You know, I asked my team to take that Accessibility's Fundamentals course so that we could always be thinking about how we can be inclusive as we build new solutions across the different workloads, but also just having it be top of mind. It's one of the things I love about working here is our commitment to that work. And Megan's fantastic, right? Great job she did.
Wonderful. But now it's time for our next segment. So who's our next guest?
It is. This is an exciting topic that I love to build things. And so this is going to be a very fun topic for me to learn something about. We're going to bring Lee on the stage. Come and join us, Lee.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Lee, you are an MVP. Tell us a little bit about that and what we're gonna see in your demo.
Sure. So I'm an MVP in Office development, which means I help customers realize their dreams in Teams, I guess, in the way of apps. So, whether that's a bot or a tab app, and a big part of that is using adaptive cards to allow people to use their content within Microsoft Teams.
Absolutely. Well, I love adaptive cards for everything that they bring in. I think that you did a great demo for us. So maybe we should hop in and look at that.
Sure.
Okay.
Ellie, I heard about adaptive card and I know it's supposed to be wonderful. Can you explain a bit more what it is?
Sure, yeah. So an adaptive card is a way of, by not needing to know how to code or develop, you can create a UI within your application. So the idea is that you can define what a card is, so whether it's got any inputs, any buttons, any images, and then by not having to design a UI, you can then insert that definition into different applications such as Teams or Outlook Actionable Messages or Bot Framework, and there's many more. And the idea here is that you're having to design a single definition, and irrespective of what application it's going to be hosted within. So if I created a form, I could have what's your name, what's your email address, add a button to submit, and then I could effectively define that within an adaptive card, and then I could then render that in Teams or whatever application. But from the end user's perspective, it would look like a Teams application, it wouldn't look like something from a web page or something. The idea is that it looks native to the end user, and from a perspective of the person that creating the card, you don't have to know how to create a Teams UI or anything like that. So it's flexible, it's easy to develop with, and it's kind of one card, multiple applications.
That's how it get this name, adaptive. So it looked native. So you mentioned it's easy to design. Can we see it? Can we see how you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, not a problem.
Let's bring your screen. Voila.
Okay, so this is the Adaptive Cards Designer. It's very good. It's a way of designing a card before you actually have to put it into an application or a flow, whatever you're going to be putting it into. And the beauty of it here is that you have the code or JSON document. Really, it's not technically a language, and you can then define what is inside a card, and then the designer will then render it up here. In this case, as a Teams application. We could change it to a web chat conversation, and you'll notice the information is still the same, and the schema hasn't changed, but it's still a JSON schema. But what has changed is sort of the look and feel. It looks more like a web chat message rather than a Teams message. If we go back to Teams, it's the same information, it's just presented slightly differently. And if we just scroll this up a bit for a second, the idea here is that you can effectively modify and change items in here by templating. So if we've got, let's say, the flight number here, this is KL605. Now, if on the right hand side we have the data. This is the data that we're going to put in the card. The left hand side is the template, right hand side is the data, and by just modifying the data, the card then is updated to reflect.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah, right away, absolutely. And effectively, what happens here is we have some like dollar and sort of curly brackets, and that's effectively a template value. And then by just changing the data, it then updates the templates. The idea is that you design a template for your application, and then you populate the data for that particular instance. So that's for this flight, but then for the next flight, it might be a different flight number, and it changes. And then if I just quickly go through to something a bit more straightforward to follow, we have a weather tracker here. So it gets the current weather for a particular location and gives you a chance of rain and wind speed and as such. And again, we can change this to appear as a web chat message or a Cortana message or a Teams message. And this is the beauty of the designer, is that you can actually modify it within here. So if I say, actually, I want a text block at the bottom, and within that text block, I want to add some extra information, I can just put time of day, and then I can put, quicker, I can put the time of day, and just like that, you've added an extra component, and just like that, it will work in web chat or whatever host application you want to use. So
this is fantastic. So we have about 2 minutes. Can we see it in action? Can we see a snippet of the code, maybe?
Absolutely. So let's just quickly go through. So this is the actual same card that I had in the designer, but now it's showing within Teams. So if I mention weather and I just put in London.
So now it's calling a service that provide the data following the same structure we saw in the designer.
Exactly right. Exactly
and now
right.
like your card is presenting it. That's brilliant. I love that.
Absolutely. So now that same card that we had in the designer is actually in the code in here.
Okay.
Like I say, you don't need to be a coder. You could do it in Power Automate or some other method, but I'm just using code here. It's easier to kind of explain. And what we have here is we are grabbing the location that I mentioned. So I mentioned London. It's then picking through a UK public API to get the current weather for that location. It's then taking that location information, so what high temperature is, what the low temperature is, the wind speed, all that information, and putting it into a adaptive card data. So that card data is the same as what was in the designer. It's effectively the same information.
The same structure, yeah.
Absolutely. And then using the same data structure, the same card definition, and then effectively what we're doing here is we're injecting that card data into the template, and then we're creating an adaptive card with that template that's got the injected data in, and then sending a message out to teams.
That's wonderful, and that's easy. And you mentioned that there's different ways to do that. Today you presented using code, but it could be done with other alternative, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And, so there's obviously you can code it. You could use logic apps. You could use a Power Automate flow. So you don't have to rely on code. The idea is that you don't have to.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that. And now let's go see what our viewers have for questions.
Okay, thanks.
That was so cool. I really like that. Maybe because I have a developer background, but I like that code and everything. It was awesome. Honestly, I didn't know adaptive card was so easy to do.
Absolutely. I think the idea here is that it's not aimed at a particular type of developer or maker or anything like that. It's portable. It can be used in any application, and part of that is making it easy as possible.
So I know, sorry, go.
Nope, I was just going to say, I want to encourage those folks out there. You don't have to be a professional developer. Absolutely. Anyone can use the adaptive card builder, don't you think, Lee?
Absolutely. So part of the adaptive cards website, there is a designer, which was part of the demo, and allows anyone to sort of create a card. Even if you're not then going to develop it into an application, you can at least design how you want it to look and then pass it on to someone that might put it in an application for you.
Yeah, and in the show note, we have a link where people can get started and learn more about adaptive card and maybe create their first one.
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. So I see the time's flying. I just want to bring back everybody. Maybe, Kuarna, we can repeat the question of the day just to make sure.
Sure. We can. If you haven't answered this yet, how do you stay up to date on what's next for Microsoft Teams? Do you read Message Center posts? Do you use the planner integration with Message Center? Do you read our Teams blog and our What's New posts there? Or do you use other content to stay up to date with all our new features? So if you haven't answered that, make sure that you do.
You could use your phone. You can type your answer in the chat. I will bring all those gold bits to the team just after. I want to thank you, all the viewers, you on the show, for sharing that. This discussion can continue. So inside the show notes, we put all the links, the help you need. There's the contact of those wonderful people. If you have more questions, you can reach them directly. I want to also mention that just after us on Learn TV, so aka.ms/Learn TV, it's about Blazor page. A topic that we just had on Hello World a few episodes away. So that's pretty cool. And that's it. I think we did. Am I forgetting something?
No, I think it's great. Of course, we absolutely can reach us all in the Teams org engineering group directly, but you can always find us out in our forum on the Microsoft technical community. So come and join us in the Teams tech community. Bring your questions. We're always out there. We do AMAs all the time, and we really appreciate being here on Hello World and always being able to answer questions for folks. So thank you so much for having us, Frank. It's wonderful.
Wonderful. And big applause to all of you. I know for some, it was the first time on Learn TV. Yeah. So bravo.
Good job.
So that's it. I just want to wish everybody a great day and stay tuned for more and learn about Blazor. Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you, everyone.